So we have an amazing storyteller coming to the stage. Bridget Flaherty, once a corporate powerhouse, managing millions of dollars. In 2016, Bridget chose the life of a drifter. She sold everything that she owned, including the house in the suburbs, packed up what was left in her car, and traveled across the country with her 11-year-old son. She now resides in Dayton, Ohio, where she shares story, writes for her blog, and is a freelance columnist. Leads Empower Her, an organization dedicated to empowering women through sharing authentic stories, consults and mentors small business owners, and facilitates workshops to help individuals and companies get unstuck. So welcome to the stage, Bridget.
It was at the airport where I went to see him off to share a couple precious moments before his departure that I realized that I was the girl at the port. You know, like how those girls flock to the Navy Pier during Fleet Week for a chance for a sexy rendezvous with a sailor? I was that girl. The thought hadn't occurred to me until this moment where I was saying goodbye. Andre was a fighter pilot with the Swedish Air Force. And we had met serendipitously at an Applebee's, of all places. The day that we met, I had spent the entire day at a coffee shop. I had just returned from a whirlwind trip across the country. I had been gone for 30 days, and I was in town for 8 days before I was leaving again. And so I had scheduled this particular day back-to-back with friends so that the chair across from me became a revolving door of friends with hugs and stories and sipping coffee. And at a break in the day, I noticed that this bearded gentleman at the end of the table had been there all day. And so I leaned over and I introduced myself and I said, "You've been here all day." And he said, "So have you." And immediately I knew that he was not from Ohio. So I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Sweden." And I said, "Sweden? What are you doing in Dayton, Ohio?" And he explained that his best friend was stationed at the Air Force Base for some training and that he was homeless and unemployed. And so he figured, what the hell? And I said, "I'm homeless and unemployed." And so we talked for a minute, and then my friend showed up with her coffee. And so I said to him, "Hey, I'd love to continue this conversation. Why don't you come tonight to Applebee's for an open mic night where a group of my friends will be. There'll be some story sharing and live music, and there were going to be a lot of my friends coming to see me because I was only in town for a little while." So he said, "Sure, I'll ask my friend," and he put his earphones back in and he went to reading. When Andre walked in with Vidar that night, I was immediately struck by his smile. His blue eyes danced when he laughed. And as the night wore on and he dove deeper and deeper into conversation with me, I found myself wondering why, of everyone in the room, he was focused on me. This gorgeous man, 10 years my junior, built like Chris Hemsworth with a sexy accent to boot, was focused on me. We philosophized about life and death, heaven and hell, souls and reincarnation, and we disagreed about most things. And we explored our disagreements, and sometimes passionate, sometimes playful, our differing views fodder for laughter. Slowly, the crowd faded away, and it was just the two of us talking. But I was only in town for a few more days. So we left without numbers exchanged and without any plans. But as fate would have it, Andre and I were meant to meet again. 2 days later, I had made plans again with friends back to back at the same bar. So happy hour with one friend, dinner with another, and post-dinner cocktails with a third. And as I got up to head to the ladies' room, after visiting with my third friend, there he was. A beer in each hand, I almost ran into him. And he put down the beers and he hugged me hard and he said, I thought you were supposed to be gone. And we talked and he laughed and his eyes danced. And I went back to visiting with my friend who said to me, who is that? And so I told the story, and he said to me, well, that's who you're supposed to be with tonight. And I said, but I made plans to be with you. And he quickly paid his tab, and he gave me a hug, and he gave me a wink and said, enjoy your evening. So I found Andre on the balcony playing a tiny guitar and singing to a crowd. And so I stood there grinning ear to ear watching this, and when he looked up and saw me, he scooted over in his chair and he beckoned for me to come sit with him, to the dismay of more than one young lady who was watching. This night, like the one 2 nights before, ended in the same way, with the two of us diving into each other's words and the crowds fading away. And as the night came to a close, he asked if he could kiss me. And right there in that bar, he did just that. I left 2 days later for Pittsburgh, and I was supposed to be gone for 3 weeks. Instead, I drove back every weekend to spend as much time as I could with Andre. He was stationed at the Air Force Base, and I could not be on base. And I was a drifter, spending my time in town with friends. So that left us dates and conversation. So I took to showing him the town, waterfront walks and sunsets and restaurants and live events and visits with friends. We soaked up every minute because we knew that this love affair had an expiration date. So by the time we booked the Airbnb for the evening, we both knew what it was about. And I felt like a teenager going to prom. We both wanted, we both desired, we both knew what it was about. And it was as glorious as I expected. Bodies beautiful, yes. But even more intensely, we had taken the time to know one another. So before naked bodies, naked souls were in the room, and it created this safe space for expression. It was passionate, it was tender, it was hot. And it was the only time that Andre and I were together before I found myself in the airport saying goodbye. He handed me that guitar and a bottle of wine, and he looked me in my eyes, and he kissed me tenderly, and he held me tight. And then he walked through security for his flight. And as I watched him walk away, I realized that goodbye is only sad when it carries regret. And with Andre, I didn't fear rejection because I knew that he was leaving. I didn't fear the end or the goodbye. Instead, I cherished every moment like drops of water in the desert because I knew that they were precious and that they would not last. Wouldn't it be glorious if we lived all of our life out loud in that way, cherishing every connection with the people in our lives so that this moment is precious and without fear? Sounds glorious, doesn't it? You want to try it with me? Thank you.